For those who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
Okay, so welcome to issue 15, details for the cockpit inside wall, and there are a lot of pieces. So let's bring up the parts list. So we have part 15.1, cockpit details A, B and C. We have piece number 2 is the cockpit, well every single piece listed is cockpit detail. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to bring you, I would already have brought the description up there. So let's have a look at them individually. So 15.2 is this squarer piece. 15.3 is this piece with the little black tube, and 15.4 is cockpit detail. 15.5 is in a bag. We've got 3 pieces in bags, so yeah, let's cut the bag open and have a look. So being very careful because they are small pieces. So 15.5 looks like a little bit of a hook on the end. So 5. 6 is a small detail. Again, it looks like possibly it has a little hook on the side. It's not a hook, but it's just what I'm using to describe it. So 15.7 has this little white piece on it, which makes it look very attractive. I'm just double checking that, yes, so there we are. So we've got a little bit of white writing there and I can't read it. Oh, maybe air crew control. I can't get the camera in close enough for that. And there's a little white handle. I think it's a handle or a wire. So piece 8 is a small sprue, and I noticed there's something stuck to the bottom, so we might come to that. So this is 15.8, and 15.9 is a sprue with D, E, F, G, H and I on it, so various parts at the moment. Now I noticed that it's got a little bit on the bottom. Now here we go. Note part 15.8 has incorrect wording on it. We have supplied a replacement part which is fixed to the back of the blister pack. You should use this part. You will also need the assembly from issue 14. So let's chop this piece out. So I'm going to cut this out, so it's going to be interesting to learn what the difference is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my choppers. We're going to cut this out of the sprue at some point, so I'm going to make some kind of identifying mark on it. So I've cut a little piece of the sprue out so that I can't get them confused. So this is interesting. Right, okay, so it's this way round. I want to see what the wording is. Do you know, are you like that? It says incorrect wording, so I want to look where the old wording is and what the new wording is. I have no idea. They look the same. Number, star, port. I don't know. I really can't tell. So the only conclusion I can come to is that some of these are wrong and some of these are right. So they've replaced all of them just so that they know which one, so that they know that it's been replaced. And maybe I was lucky that there was actually no error in the first place. So let's go on to stage 1, and we'll look at 2 as well. So stage 1, cut parts I and H from the frame 15.9, check the fits. 4 pegs on the inside of part I fit into the holes in part H as indicated. When you are happy with the fit, use a cocktail stick to apply a little super glue to the pegs and fit in place. And stage 2, cut part F from the frame 15.9. The pegs on the ends of the part F fit into the holes in the top of the assembly I/H. When you are happy with the fit, glue in place. So parts I and H are these parts here. They look like some kind of tanks. What tanks, I've got to be honest with you, I don't know. I would suspect air, some kind of air, compressed air. I know, although we're talking about a completely different vehicle, on my bus we have tanks that build up air, and obviously that air needs to be placed somewhere. So that's the fit for stage 1. As you can see, there are 4 pegs, 1, 2, 3, 4, hard to see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will fit into holes 1, 2, 3, 4. And because this is plastic, I'm going to suggest that we need even less glue than normal. In fact, all of these are plastic. So let's put a nice big dollop of glue. I'm going to put this in a different place than the last lot of glue because it's a different kind of glue. Whoa, that's a really strong glue. If you're sensitive to glues, don't buy that Gorilla with a brush because the fumes are quite harsh actually, and it stings your eyes. So definitely put a piece of a little dab of glue into each of the pegs. But then any excess you've got from the cocktail stick, just run around the flat edges if you want to. You don't have to. But all of these parts are fitted really well. But one thing I do worry about, and it's not happened, if you glue just with the pegs, if the edges don't stick, sometimes you get like a little bit of a flaring on the edge. So like there. So we've got a little, it's gone now because I put the glue. So you'll get a gap there. You see there's no gap there, even though the piece cuts across there. Let me see. Oh, there is actually a gap. Can you see there's a tiny gap? It's gone. Oh no, there it is. There we are. Just a tiny gap. Just there. So by putting, I mean, it's not really a gap that you're going to notice, but by putting the glue on there, it's just going to seal that gap. So stage 2 is requiring us to place that piece into there, and that's a really good fit. I would suggest there's a possibility glue may not be essential. So because it's a tight fit, I'm just going to put just a tiny amount of glue into the pegs, and then that goes into there like so, and there you go. So step 3, take the cockpit details 15.3 and 15.7. A raised tab on part 15.7 fits into the recess in part 15.3. Check the diagrams carefully and make sure you have the parts the right way round. When you are happy, glue in place. So 15.3 is this piece here, and we can see a recess just there. Now the orientation it has it in the magazine, it has this black line coming out from the right and going down. so that's a good identifier for us. And then piece number 7, you see it has this arm going up to the right and the white bit on the left hand side, so there should be a tab. There it is. Now we take this piece, we place it into there, so we have the hole there and the tab there, and that goes into place like that. Perfect fit. So I'm going to use that little sticky out bit as a handle, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue, go into the middle of the hole and move your cocktail stick around to the edge, and that way you won't get any, should we call it glue splurge? There we go. So if you put too much glue in and then you put the piece in, it's going to squish all the glue out and it's going to splurge everywhere. Right, there we go. So that piece looks like it's going off center. So would that be a moving piece in real life? Okay, so that's that piece done. So stage 4, cut part A from the frame for 1501 and take the assembly from issue 14. Take the frame from issue 14. Check the fit of part A on the 2 pegs near the front of the port cockpit frame. As indicated, when you are happy with the fit, glue in place. See also step 5 with part A in position. So we won't look at stage 5 just yet, but I can see there are 2 pegs just there, and the piece in question is this box-like piece, so that's going to be cut there and there. Checking we have no leftover pieces, and there we go, we have 2 holes there. So we want the covered side up, you see it's hollow on the bottom, and that's going to go in like so, just like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to apply glue onto the pegs, I'm going to apply glue into the holes, but I'm just going to extend that glue just around the top of the pegs like that, and that way we hope that not only will the pegs be glued inside the holes, but then we'll just touch the surface that we're not going to see. In fact, I am going to use my tweezers for this one, and then we can get that in one shot, I hope. There we go. So let go of that, push it on for about 5 seconds. This glue actually may not be strong enough for this because we are gluing onto a metal piece. Yeah. So really the glue I should have used would be my super duper Gorilla Glue. So let's move that to there. So let's get my super glue gel. It's all really a case of knowing which glue works best for what surfaces. This will glue just about anything to anything, whereas I feel this other glue that I have isn't quite so strong, so I wouldn't use it for every single task. So why don't I use the Gorilla Gel glue for everything, I hear you say? Well, the yellow glue, it has things like the brush, which in some cases is a lot easier than going directly from the bottle, and sometimes the cocktail stick isn't the best method, so it just gives you a wider range of uses. So but when you're using plastic, the yellow glue is the best. Sorry, it's not the best, it's suitable. So I'm just going to also put a little bit across the top, and I feel I've put a little bit too much, so I'm just going to scrape a little bit off. See how much excess I've just taken off. You don't need all that, that's just going to splurge. So let's take our piece. So this piece has taken a rather long time, but there really is no rush when you're making models. The longer you take, the better, the closer to perfection. Okay, I'm struggling here. There we go. So I'm going to press that down for a few seconds. So if you rush jobs, it really does show on the finished result. Now I'm not saying someone who takes 200 hours is going to produce a better result than someone who does it in 100 hours, but someone who spends 100 hours will definitely do a better job than someone that does this entire build in 2 hours. So that's that piece on. So stage 5, cut part B from the frame 1501, check the fit of the parts. A tab on part 1401 fits into the recess in part B as indicated. Note the orientation of part B. So this is part B here. It's got a little bit of silver detail on the detail, which is always nice, detail on detail. And I also notice as I'm cutting it off, it's actually sloped. So it's gonna have a major impact if we get that wrong. So I'm going to go straight in with the tweezers again. That helped us big time on the last stage. Also, not a bad idea just to wrap a bit of masking tape around the jaws to help prevent scratching. So you see there's a line there and there's a tab there, and that's going to go over that tab, and that is a perfect fit. So let's go for the Gorilla Glue gel. Sorry if I'm advertising a particular product. Shall we just call this a gel-like super glue? Right, we'll see if that's enough. I'm not sure if I've actually applied enough glue. So I did the test fit and I forgot to take the orientation, and I think that is the correct way around. So because the sides are sloping, we need the slope to go in like so, so that it sticks out more flat like, although it's not going to line up the same as this piece, but that is the correct way round, because you've got this rounded bit at the top. Now looking at the magazine, I can see that the inside of this is green, so it makes me think this is perhaps a handle. I'm not going to make any alterations to this, but if you're a bit of a purist, you might want to just get a tiny brush and just put a dab of green paint in there, just to make that look more handle-like. I think it's going a little bit, I won't say too far, but I'm happy with it the way it is. So let's look at steps 6, 7, 8 and 9 and 10 together, because they're pretty much the same thing. In fact, I'm not even going to bring the instructions up. So stage 6, we need this piece number D, and that's going on one of these. So identify the fixing point on part 14.1, check the fit, the horizontal bar on part 4. So we're going to be placing this onto there, and you see there's a little corner there, and there's a little corner in the piece, and that's going to go into there like so. And yes, so if we look at the back of this, you can see there's a little tab in there, and there's a locating peg, and there's a hole. I suspect they will come in useful in a later part. Sorry, what's going on? Right, sorry, I was actually showing you the front there. So you've got a line cut in the middle, and that's to go over this line there. So that's actually where I'm going to apply the glue. So we can actually now apply this directly from the bottle because we have a large enough area. So I'm just going to squeeze, always squeeze over just enough just to make the glue show, and I'm going to place that in the middle, and then I'm going to push it up to either end, controlling the flow if necessary. Lovely. So then I can place this on, and then I will push very hard as I dare. 3, 2, 1. I'm prodding that was something that is in there firmly. So piece E, just put the glue on this, the lid. So piece E is this piece here. I wish I'd taken a photo of this now, because I can see how this is going to go, and I thought the piece was fantastic when we finished it in the last issue, but in actual fact it's made the previous stage look quite boring. So there's a test fit. We have a notch cut in the corner there and a little bit there, so I'm happy with that test fit. And I'm suggesting your glue marks will be a little ridge there, a tab there, and a tab there. So I'm going to use the cocktail stick. We'll put a blob in there, then along the seam, and then the rest of the stick can just go there. Remove any excess from there, apply it there. It's all about applying the glue evenly, and I've just dropped that. I really hate dropping glue sticks onto the cutting board. Cutting boards aren't that cheap. They're not expensive, but they're not cheap. And I've just bought a brand new one. And yeah, once you get glue marks and paint marks, and you're doing what I call a clean build. This is what I call a clean build, because you're not likely to make too much mess when you're painting. That's an unclean build. Right, so the next one is stage 8, and we need this piece here. Now this is most definitely a candidate for the tweezers. So we have a little tab there, and that's going into piece D that we've installed earlier, and that's going to go in like that. And you've actually got the end of this needs to go into that hole there. Don't know if you can see the hole there. So line there. So I'm going to apply glue to the tab, and also just a tiny drop on the end there. And I think the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to maneuver the end of this into the hole, and then continue the rest of it into the tab. So in like that, and just like that, and there you go. And you can now see there's a little tiny bit of detail on it, very very small amount of detail, which I didn't notice before. And this isn't sticking, which is a shame. There we go. It's probably because I didn't have it in enough. 4, 5, and that's still not in. Now the problem we have, right, okay, I'm going to have to re-glue that one end, but one end has actually glued perfectly, so I can't remove the whole part. So there we go. So what's happened is the tab obviously hasn't made contact with it, and that's perfect, so I'm really happy with that. So the next stage is stage 9, and we are looking for this part here, which is the replacement part. So I'm going to cut this off, and that's only attached by one piece, and it's going to have to put that into the tweezers because you can see it jumping about all over the place. But we're going to be gluing in by this tab there, so we need to have that exposed so the tweezers aren't getting in the way. So that's going to go in. Now I'm suggesting this is like a twisty knob. There isn't a correct or incorrect orientation. So what's happening then in real life is the pilot can turn that. So it would be in a random position when it's come out. So, but I would also suggest that the size of the writing, where the location of the part is, if you did get it the wrong way round, I would suggest it's not going to be the end of the world. So let's apply glue onto the end there, just on the locating tab. And oops, that goes in there like that. 3, 4, 5. That's now stuck in place. So on with stage 10, and we need this part here that I thought I'd cut off the sprue, but I actually hadn't. So this is piece G. Piece G, and I'm just going to trim that. I've cut the sprue too long because I couldn't actually see the exact place to put it. So I cut it long, and then when I get a chance to look, I can see better. So this one's actually got a hole in the back, and that's going to go into the peg there. So very good use of pegs and holes. One minute you're placing a peg into a hole, the next you're placing a hole into a peg. So that means you can't get your parts muddled up so well. Now I should really have put the glue in the hole rather than on the peg, but let's just see if I get away with that. Look, straight in. So, and then the other piece for this stage is this. Can we call this it looks a bit like a flower box. You'd hang that over your balcony. So you need this piece on the top, and we've got, there we go. So we've got a tab going across and a tab going up and down, and then we've got a tab up and down and one going across. So we can see that that's going to go into there. So it's becoming obvious to me we're not going to see this from the bottom, because you can see we've got holes where it says all filled in on this side. So with this one, I'm going to pop glue in the pegs, but I'm also going to apply a little bit along this flat surface, because I can see that that's going to be making surface with the frame, but I'm keeping this as thin as I possibly can. So in fact, shall we apply with tweezers? So there we go, and that's why they have holes at the bottom, so that you can apply with tweezers. So there we go. So onwards and upwards. I need to just turn my page. Stage 11, and there is such a lot to do, isn't there, guys? So we have the open side there, so we know that's going on the bottom. Black detail on the top. This one has 2 pegs. and this is a bit trickier to fit, but it will fit. And I've got a cocktail stick with glue on it on the table. So let's, as we're doing plastic on plastic and I'm running low on the gel, I'm going to apply the yellow glue to this, and I'm just going to apply a little bit along the flat surface, more really just removing the excess from the holes, just tiny layer, really, I don't know why I've done that. Okay, so there we go. So that's more detail in place. And isn't this really coming along? This is why I wish I'd taken a photo of it before I began. I really didn't anticipate this level of detail. So the next stage is 15.3, 15.7. This is from an earlier stage. We've put two pieces together and we have a tab at the back, and that's going to go over there, and that will glue. Oops. So I said I could use this as a handle, and it certainly does work as a handle. So that's actually got the little writing on the wall behind it. That's fine. I mean, it's really not going to not be fine, because that's the way it is. So tiny dab of glue, place that over there onto the tab, give it a bit of a count, 3, 4, 5, and that's stuck down lovely. So that leaves us with another piece. We've got two pieces left. So this comes off the sprue. This is piece C, and this is just, it looks like a green box to me. So this is actually going to go over one of the pieces that we put in previously, and there's a little cutout notch at the top, and it looks like, I don't know, would that be somewhere that you can store like a flight manual or a map or something? I don't know. So glue onto there. I'm putting glue on the peg and actually on the little piece that makes contact with the surface, and I really am going to need tweezers. I really am struggling with these small pieces, and I do often say I don't think there's an excuse if you can get tweezers in. So I mean, if you had the tiniest hands in the world, you might be able to manage this without tweezers, but that's fine. Look how beautiful that's coming along. That is absolutely amazing. So we have two more stages left of this build. The next stage is this odd looking piece here, and this has it right. This is going to be quite complicated by the looks of things. So we have two pegs on the back, and then I'm just trying to find those, the two pegs. We have two peg holes there, and this pipe that comes off needs to feed into that hole there, and it's very, very hard to see. So I will point to it there. So it's going to go in. Again, tweezers I think are the order of the day. So, whoops, oh no, that's fine, that's okay. I really don't want to drop this because I don't know how fragile the pieces are. Right, okay, that's a lot easier than I thought. So I think we're going to come in, two pegs in, then manoeuvre that into there. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to put plenty but not too much glue in the pegs, and then with what's left on my stick, just a tiny dab into the tiny hole. Then, as I said before, we can focus on the pegs, then maneuver into the hole there, and yes, you guessed it, the dry run went perfect. As soon as we put glue on the part, we've run into problems. So there we go, I'm really happy with that. So we'll just try and lift that. Now that is stuck. That's lovely. Right, and I'll just get my dry cocktail stick. So if you remember, I said in another issue that I'm using a cocktail stick for glue and I'm using a dry stick just for poking and pushing. Make sure you leave your glue and your dry sticks completely separate. I've actually developed a habit now of when I'm gluing, I'm reaching over to the left but I keep my dry stick on the right. If I now start prodding around these parts with this stick that's got glue in, obviously I'm going to run into problems. So right, on to the final stage of this build. So we have 4 holes on the back there, and you see we have 4 locating tabs. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do the test fit that we always do, and obviously we're always looking at the best way to fit these. Right, so on this tank we have 2 bars running across, and we're going to be gluing onto metal. So what I think will be the easiest way is to actually glue along the bars. So I'm just going to get my glue started. There we go, and I might as well apply direct from the bottle into the middle, push it across, then into the middle there, push it across, and then take any excess off from the first bit, apply it to the second. Can always just give a tiny squeeze if we feel we need it. Lovely. And as I've got it in my hand, I think I'm going to apply it from my hand, and there we go. So I'm holding it not on the glued part, but count to about 3, 4, 5, test the strength of it. That's strong enough. So there we go, guys, that is the completed work. Equipment and control details have been fitted to the inner wall of the port side of the cockpit, and how amazing is that piece there? That is absolutely fantastic. I've said it before, I think I've said it 2 or 3 times. I really wish I'd taken a picture before I started, because the difference between the start and the finish is absolutely amazing. So that's it for this stage then. So I will see you in issue 16, which is coming up in the next video. So take care, guys.